Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where we talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today it's Sunday, so I'm going to go off on one about a random topic to do with books. And that topic today is, are some books just too bloody long? Before we start though, there's an activity for all of you lovely people at home to do. I'm going to do it here as well. That is, get the last 10 physical books that you read, and if you haven't got them because they were borrowed or library books or whatever, just get the last 10 physical books you have got that you've read, and pause this video while you go and do that. Get those books, bring them back, put them in front of you, and then start the video again. Hello, welcome back. I bet most of you didn't pause the video and go and get the last 10 books that you read, but hey, that's fine. So I've got the last 10 books I read in front of me here. So those books are The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks, Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay, Scourge by Gary Fry, Blight by Mark Saunders, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson, Dracula's Death by Laszlo Tomalsky, Squirm by Richard Curtis, Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, The MD by Thomas M. Dish, and The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. Now, what I'm going to do now, and what I want you to do at home, if you have got the 10 books, is see how many you can hold in one hand. Like this. I will show you. So, let me flip my lot back over again. So, starting with the most recent one. So, obviously I can hold one book. I can hold 2 books. I can hold 3 books. I can hold 4 books. 5, still pretty comfortable. Dracula's Death, nice and slim, so that can get in there. Squirm isn't very thick either. Horror Store, not very thick, but it's quite wide and tall, so we'll see if that gets in there. So it's starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable now. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books, and it's starting to feel a bit uncomfortable. Right, I'm going to try and get this one in. I think we all know what's going to happen. It's not going to work. Oh, hold on. I can just do it. I can just do it. Can I do the Hellbound Heart as well? I think it's unlikely. I can, but it feels like it's going to go at any moment. So I haven't got big hands, but I've got reasonably long fingers. So I can do 9. And I am blessed by the fact that, as you can see, many of these books are quite short. And that's the point of today's video. So let me know in the comments how many you managed to hold if you did indeed try this. I suspect that most people will not have done 9, because I suspect that most people either will have slightly smaller hands than me or will have read slightly fatter books than what I have read. So what's the point of all of that? So the point of all of that is I've got 9 books. If I try and do it with thicker books, so what have I got? I should have prepared some thick books like I had in the intro. So let's assume that this isn't actually 3 books in one. So I can do Moondance and that Cormac McCarthy Border trilogy. Well, I've got some Stephen King here. Let's try Stephen King instead, actually. So Moondance, which is about 500 pages. Black House by King and Straub, which is 800. So I can do those 2 comfortably. Can I get Liz's story in as well? Which is, how long is this? That's 650 pages. I can, but it's a stretch. So that's 3 books. And it's about as uncomfortable as it was holding the 9 books. So, right, let me tidy up. Right, so the question then is, the question now is, what was the point of all that then? So, the point of that is it better to read 9 short books or 3 long books? And obviously, as with most of the things I talk about in this segment, the answer to that question is it depends. But I do think that modern books seem to me to be longer. So case in point, I'm a big fan of mysteries, as you will know if you watch the channel. Here's an Agatha Christie mystery, 3-act tragedy. I haven't read this one. It's a Poirot, so it's probably pretty good. It is 192 pages long. So this is I think a really good length for a mystery. I think most mysteries, if they are longer than 192 pages, they need to justify that, because you can do everything you need to do in a mystery in a shorter book than that. You know, Agatha Christie did it dozens of times. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle did it dozens of times. Ed McBain, my favourite author, did it dozens of times. But if I find a more modern mystery, so this is just completely randomly plucked off the shelf, Coffin Road by Peter May, which again I haven't read. This is 392 pages long. Peter May has a pretty good rep, and I have enjoyed what I've read by him. But clearly this is a much, much longer book. So it's twice the length of those other ones. What other mysteries have I got? Have I got another mystery? This is my crime shelf behind me here. But it's all older books on the front. Let's see what we've got lurking behind. Oh, here we go, look. Stieg Larsson, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. 740 pages. So that's like nearly 4 Agatha Christie's. You see? It seems to me excessively long. And I know that, you know, I know that all writers are different, and writers will do different things with their stories, and will want to develop them in different ways. And Stieg Larsson, you know, I've only read the first of the Millennium Trilogy, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I did think that was excellent, and I'm definitely going to read the other two at some point. But if I had the choice between reading one Stieg Larsson book and reading 4 Ed McBain books, or, you know, a McBain, an Agatha Christie, The Hellbound Heart, you know, maybe something else, what would I pick? I don't know. It would very much depend on my mood. That's the thing, isn't it? That sometimes you want a short, sharp treat. And I love short books for that reason. I love them because you can get into them quickly. They tend to, you know, move at a reasonable pace, and you can, you know, often you can finish them in a day. You know, I'm quite capable of polishing off an Ed McBain in an afternoon. I've just finished The Wasp Factory. I started this yesterday afternoon and I finished it this morning. Last night on TV, the Eurovision Song Contest final was on, which I watched with my family, which was a very enjoyable experience. It lasted just over 4 hours. I think I read this book in about the same amount of time. So that's another question, isn't it? It's not just about trading off our reading against other books. So it's not just, you know, do I want to read this book and a couple of other things, or a much longer book? It's, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want to do with my leisure time? And there are so many demands on our leisure time nowadays, and I've talked about this on the channel before. You know, there's video games, there's mobile phone games, there's social media, there's, you know, a million streaming services with loads of content on. You know, do we want to spend 2 hours watching a movie when we could spend that time reading half a book, or, you know, a third of a book, or whatever? And, you know, TV is even more of a time stealer than this, particularly nowadays when, you know, long form TV has become almost, you know, the norm in terms of dramatic TV. So as I've said in a video I did the other day, my wife and I are watching Game of Thrones at the moment, which, you know, we're thoroughly enjoying. I think it's like 80 episodes, so it's 80 hours of television. So that's a lot of books. I could read a lot of books in 80 hours. And Game of Thrones is not particularly long, to be honest with you, as modern series go, in that each season is only 10 episodes long. Whereas, you know, the majority of TV shows, especially, you know, network TV shows, are 20 or 22 episodes. And those might be a bit shorter because they have ads in, so they might be like 42 minutes, 45 minutes. But that's still, I don't know, I can't do the maths in my head. But 20 times 45 is quite a big number. And then you get that times 7, because they go up to 7 seasons. So that's a lot of time. So you know, and how do you make, and this is a question for everyone, because as normal I don't have the answers on this, but how do you make that decision about how you spend your time? Now clearly I spend most of my leisure time reading. I do watch TV, so I watch, you know, as I said, I'm watching Game of Thrones, but I don't watch a lot of TV. I will typically watch one series at a time, and I maybe spend an hour or 2 a day watching TV, no more than that, and often less than that. My son, who's featured on my channel before, Criminology Junior, is a big fan of video games, and he particularly enjoys like simulation type video games and strategy games. And a couple of those, so Kerbal Space Program, which he plays a lot, and Hearts of Iron 4, which he plays a lot, he's got hundreds of hours in, like 200-300 hours playtime in those games. So that is that's a massive investment of time. Now clearly everyone's leisure time is their own. That's the whole point of it. No one owns your leisure time but you. And there may be, I don't know if negotiation is the right word, but there will be leisure time that you want to spend doing things with your family, your friends, your loved ones, and there'll be leisure time that you want to spend alone. And reading obviously is a more solitary activity than reading, and that's one of the reasons why I think Booktube is a wonderful thing, because it gives us an opportunity to make reading a social activity. I've seen loads of people doing the Booktube newbie tag who say what, in answer to the question, why have you started this channel, the reason is because I really like talking to people about books, but I don't have many people in my real life, in my day-to-day life, who enjoy reading the kind of books that I enjoy reading. So the massive connectivity that the internet gives us, and the ability to reach out and meet people that we would never have met otherwise, is fantastic for readers, because it means you can make connections with people who like the same kind of books as you. And I've certainly done that, in my time since joining YouTube, but also, previously when I've, written blog posts and things like that. So I've gone all over the place today, even for me. So the question is, do you prefer, so let's get back to that question. Do you prefer reading one long book or several short books? And as I said, it depends. So for me, reading a long book it's something you have to allow yourself the time to sink into. And it's more of I don't want to say it's more of an immersive experience, because a short book can be incredibly immersive. But I think it's a different experience, because you live in the world of the book for longer. So yeah, immersive isn't the right word, but there's something different about it, isn't there? And I find when I'm reading a short book, even if I'm really enjoying it, I'm probably more likely to spend, for it to be in the back of my head what I'm going to read next. Whereas I'm reading a long book, I commit myself to that book, and I try and, I deliberately try not to think about other things, because I'm thinking about not so much the next book, but the next part of that book. So I do think it's a different experience reading long books. I do also think, though, that books are longer than they need to be now. And I've talked about video games and social media, and I've talked about TV shows being, really long. And with all of those things, there is a very clear requirement, or design. I think it's designed into those things by the creators, that they want to keep you in that world. So we know with apps on our phones and things like that the goal of the Facebook app is to keep you in the Facebook app, so you are not using other services, so they can continually serve up adverts to you. And that's the same with with TV. Clearly, TV is probably the most established form of entertainment, where we are used to making that trade-off between giving our time in response to being advertised to. But similarly, with video games want to keep you in the game, so you are not playing other games, so you are more likely to want to, either, as increasingly the case, spend money on microtransactions within the game, or, buy expansion packs to the game, or, whatever. And is reading the same? I suspect it is. The publisher wants to keep you in that book. The publisher wants you to enjoy that book. The publisher wants you to pick up the next book in the series. And I've said on the channel before, series seem to me to be much more prevalent now than they used to be. There was, we had a bit of a chat. I had a bit of a chat with various people in the comments who were questioning that statement. But it does feel to me like it is the case that series are more prevalent. And again, that's very much about the publisher trying to keep you in their world. So I think the trend towards longer books may partly be because of that. And it may just be a value thing as well. Do you feel like you are getting better value for money when you buy a bigger book versus a shorter book? And to be honest with you, if you think about it purely in numerical terms of the amount you pay against the number of pages in the book, you probably are. Because, really long books would typically be more expensive than short books, but they won't be. I can't think what the word is. They won't be. The price per page will be lower. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you prefer longer books or shorter books? Do you like this that sensation of really getting into a longer book and committing yourself to it, rather than the short, sharp rush of reading a number of short books? And also, how do you trade off your time? How do you decide what time you're going to allocate to reading versus what time you're going to allocate to other leisure activities? So yeah, that's it from me for today. As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.